In this video, we'll uncover the most valuable Roosevelt one dime you should be on the lookout for. We'll break down what makes these coins so special, how much they're worth in today's market, and what you need to know to sell them successfully at auction. First up, the 1978 Roosevelt Dime is a part of the long-running Roosevelt Dime series, which was introduced in 1946, following the death of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. Designed by artist John R. Sinek, this coin was made to honor the 32nd president, whose leadership through the Great Depression and World War II left a lasting legacy in U.S. history. The 1978 Roosevelt dime itself was minted during a period of relative stability in U.S. coinage, with the country continuing to use the copper-nickel alloy for dimes. The D mint mark, referring to the Denver Mint, was used for this coin, and it is important for collectors to recognize this when considering its value. The condition of the coin plays a significant role in determining its value in the market. Coins in circulated conditions with significant wear and tear, such as a dirty appearance, tend to reduce a coin's value, especially for pieces not deemed rare or highly sought after. However, even a dirty and circulated 1978 dime with the right provenance or minting errors could still carry more value. In 1978, the U.S. Mint produced a significant number of Roosevelt dimes. In fact, the total mintage for the 1978 dime was around 400 million coins, making it a fairly common coin in terms of overall circulation. This high mintage is a factor that typically works against the value of the coin in its general circulated form. However, specific conditions, such as unique errors, or the coin's condition in relation to its preservation, can help it stand out. The presence of the D mint mark indicates that the coin was struck at the Denver Mint, which adds a layer of distinction when compared to the P mint mark dimes produced in Philadelphia. The value of the 1978 Roosevelt dime in its dirty, circulated condition can range quite a bit. While a coin in this condition will generally not fetch a high price in the auction market, its value can be influenced by the unique characteristics of the coin, such as any noticeable errors or historical significance. Coins that are in relatively poor condition can still be valued at thousands of dollars, but they are usually considered more of a filler in a collection rather than a high-value piece. However, if this coin has specific errors, such as a doubled die or a misaligned die, its market value could jump dramatically. In such cases, a coin that might otherwise be valued at $10,000 to a $15,000 could sell for several thousands dollars, depending on the rarity and the error's prominence. It's crucial for collectors to have coins like this graded professionally to determine their precise value. Collectors of Roosevelt dimes generally focus on coins with high-quality preservation and rare minting errors. The 1978 dime, with its D mint mark, might not be the most highly sought after in standard circulated conditions. However, collectors who specialize in mid to late 20th century coins, including Roosevelt dimes, might still show interest in this coin, especially if it has an unusual history, comes from a notable collection, or features an exceptional error. Coins in dirty or damaged conditions might attract interest from collectors who are searching for lower-grade examples to complete their sets, and occasionally, these collectors will pay a premium if the coin features something distinctive. Next up, the 1996 Roosevelt dime was minted during an interesting time for U.S. coinage. The country was coming out of the 1980s and entering a period of economic prosperity. The design of the Roosevelt dime remained unchanged, continuing to honor the legacy of Franklin D. Roosevelt. The coin's design features Roosevelt's profile, but it's always important to note that some years, such as 1996, have had large date varieties that collectors look out for. The 1996 Roosevelt dime also features the P mint mark for the Philadelphia Mint, which was introduced in the early 20th century. The P mint mark is of particular interest to collectors, especially when considering low mintage years or unusual varieties like the 1996 large date. These coins are often more interesting than standard dimes because they represent a distinct time in the U.S. Mint's production. However, the distinguishing feature of the 1996 coin, especially in the case of the large date variety, is the spacing and size of the numbers. The 6 is larger than in earlier issues, creating a key feature that collectors eagerly seek. In the case of the dirty and damaged 1996 dime, The condition of the coin plays a major role in its market value. A black color and noticeable damage on the front side of the coin, such as scratches, bends, or discoloration, reduce its appeal. The bad condition could significantly lower its overall market value, but errors and unique characteristics, like a filled die or misalignment, could potentially bring interest from serious collectors. The mintage of the 1996 Roosevelt Dime was substantial, with over 1.4 billion dimes produced at the Philadelphia Mint. Despite this, some collectors focus on specific years and varieties, such as the 1996 large date, which makes the coin more appealing to numismatists looking to fill specific spots in their collections. As with many years in the Roosevelt Dime series, high mintage figures do not automatically mean low value. Coins from this era that exhibit distinctive characteristics, such as the large date variety, can command higher prices when found in uncirculated or error-rich conditions. The market value for a 1996 Roosevelt Dime in bad condition, especially if it's dirty or damaged, is quite modest. While common examples in poor condition may fetch thousands of dollars at best, the presence of any error or unique feature can raise the value exponentially. For instance, a 1996 Roosevelt Dime with a prominent error like a die crack or off-center strike might see values in the range of $6,000 even in bad condition. However, without errors, the value typically remains low for coins in poor or damaged states. Collectors who specialize in Roosevelt dimes or coin varieties will still take interest in these, especially if they can identify any errors or variations not immediately visible. A damaged or dirty coin can be cleaned up or restored, though it's important to note that cleaning a coin can often reduce its value, particularly for collectors of high-grade coins. Collectors who focus on specific years, such as the 1996 large date variety, may find the coin interesting, but its poor condition will likely be a barrier. For some collectors, the condition will make this coin more of a curiosity or a placeholder until a better example comes along. However, there's always a niche market for coins with unusual characteristics, such as severe damage or unique wear patterns, which can appeal to certain types of collectors, especially those interested in the more flawed aspects of coinage. Next up, the 1987 Roosevelt Dime, which is quite special due to its unique error, a small cut line on the neck. This dime is part of the long-standing Roosevelt Dime series, which was introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt, following his death in 1945. Designed by John R. Sinek, the Roosevelt Dime was meant to represent the enduring legacy of Roosevelt's leadership during the Great Depression and World War II. The series itself is known for its clean lines and simple elegance, featuring a left-facing profile of Roosevelt with the motto Liberty above and the year of issue below. However, this 1987 issue is particularly unique due to an unexpected error, a small cut line found on Roosevelt's neck. This error occurred during the coin minting process, where a tool or other equipment made an inadvertent mark on the die, which was transferred onto the coin. It's a subtle imperfection, but it's enough to set this coin apart from others in the series. To understand why this coin is so valuable, we must first look at the history of the Roosevelt Dime. The Roosevelt Dime was minted by the United States Mint for decades, and though most issues were produced in high quantities, certain years stand out because of either their lower mintage or unique characteristics. The 1987 dimes were part of a series with relatively high mintage numbers, but the error on this particular coin was not widespread, making it rare among its counterparts. Over time, the Roosevelt Dime has become a symbol of resilience, much like the man it honors. The 1987 dimes were minted in both Philadelphia with the P mint mark and Denver, with the Philadelphia mint mark typically being more common in circulation. In terms of mintage, the 1987 Roosevelt Dime had a relatively high production rate, with over 1.6 billion coins struck in Philadelphia alone. Despite this, the error on this specific coin elevates its value considerably. Coins like these, with unique minting defects, are highly sought after by collectors who specialize in errors. While a regular 1987 Roosevelt dime might fetch $57,000 in the market, a coin with this particular error can command prices upwards of several $100,000, depending on the coin's condition and the prominence of the error. Collectors are particularly interested in coins with errors like these because they are rarities that can't be replicated, making them special additions to any collection. The design is crisp, the details well-defined, and the coin is made from a copper-nickel-clad composition with 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. This gives the coin its silver-like appearance, making it durable yet lightweight. What really sparks collector interest here is the small cut line error on the neck. Though it may seem like a minor imperfection, this flaw significantly decreases the overall perfection of the coin, making it a one-of-a-kind piece for those who enjoy error coins. These small details can elevate a coin from being a simple dime to a highly desirable artifact in the eyes of dedicated collectors. While some might dismiss this imperfection, others view it as a fascinating quirk of the minting process, and as such, these coins can be highly valuable in the market. If you find a 1987 Roosevelt dime with this error in your collection, you could be holding a rare treasure worth significantly more than face value. Next up, coin of the day is the 1967 Roosevelt dime, which, although found in dirty condition, is another highly collectible piece. The 1967 Roosevelt dime is a staple of the series, and even though it was struck in large numbers, its place in history makes it an essential part of many collections. What's interesting about this particular coin is its condition. While it's not pristine, it carries a story of its journey through time, a reflection of its age and the many hands it may have passed through over the years. Unlike the 1987 coin, this 1967 dime lacks a mint mark. The absence of a mint mark means this coin was minted in Philadelphia, where most Roosevelt dimes were struck. Even in its dirty condition, this coin is still highly valued by collectors, particularly those who focus on acquiring as many variations of the Roosevelt dime as possible. The Roosevelt dime of 1967 was part of a period of increased mintage, but it also marks an era of significant historical events. The 1960s were a turbulent time in the United States, with the civil rights movement, the space race, and significant social changes shaping the nation. Despite the political and social upheaval of the time, coins like the 1967 Roosevelt dime remained a constant in everyday transactions, circulating throughout the country. One of the interesting aspects of the 1967 dimes is that they were part of a transitional period in minting, with the United States transitioning from using 90% silver to a copper-nickel-clad composition in 1965. This made the 1967 dimes a product of the post-silver era, which contributed to their widespread circulation. The mintage of the 1967 Roosevelt dime was quite high, with over 1.5 billion coins minted that year. Despite its high mintage, coins from this era are still quite valuable in certain conditions. Even in dirty condition, the 1967 Roosevelt dime can command prices of $37,000, depending on the level of wear and the collector's market at the time. Collectors of Roosevelt dimes typically seek out coins with minimal wear, but even coins with dirt and tarnish can still hold appeal, particularly for those looking to complete a series or find dimes with certain characteristics, such as the absence of a mint mark. As with the 1987 coin, the 1967 Roosevelt dime features a left-facing profile of Franklin D. Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States, along with the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and the year of mintage. On the reverse side, you'll find the torch, olive branch, and oak branch, which have remained a constant feature on the Roosevelt dime since its inception in 1946. The torch represents liberty, the olive branch peace, and the oak branch strength, encapsulating the values Roosevelt championed during his presidency. Although this 1967 Roosevelt dime doesn't have any major errors or unique minting features, its status as a part of the Roosevelt dime series makes it interesting for collectors. The lack of a mint mark may not seem important at first glance, but to some collectors, mint mark varieties are crucial, and this one has an edge because it was minted in 1850 Philadelphia, the primary mint for many coins of this era. Though the dirty condition might deter some collectors, others see the value in owning coins that have a history of circulation. Coins like these remind us of the many stories they carry, and for the right collector, a coin like this can still fetch a respectable value in the auction market. Next up, The 1965 Roosevelt Dime is one of the most unique coins in the history of the United States minting series. Its historical significance, coupled with the unique aspects of its design, makes it a valuable coin in the market today. The 1965 large date without a mint mark holds particular interest among collectors for several reasons, especially when considering its context within American coinage. The Roosevelt Dime series was introduced in 1946 as a tribute to the late President Franklin D. Roosevelt, who passed away in 1945. The coin was designed by John R. Sinek, the chief engraver of the United States Mint. It featured a portrait of Roosevelt on the obverse and an olive branch, torch, and oak branch on the reverse, symbolizing peace, liberty, and strength. However, by the time the 1965 dime was produced, the United States was facing a major shift in the coinage system. The country had just moved away from silver coinage, transitioning to clad coins, which were primarily composed of copper and nickel rather than silver. This transition occurred largely due to the rising costs of silver and the need to stabilize the value of U.S. coins. In 1965, the U.S. Mint faced a logistical challenge in meeting the demand for coins following the Coinage Act of 1965, which had removed silver from the dime and quarter denominations. This made the production of dimes like the 1965 crucial, and certain varieties like the large date version without a mint mark became quite rare, making them of significant interest to collectors. In 1965, the U.S. Mint produced a substantial number of Roosevelt dimes, but the large date variety without a mint mark is especially scarce in circulated condition. While the U.S. Mint made an effort to produce coins quickly to replenish circulation, errors and variations in the production process are inevitable. The mint marks, or lack thereof, play a critical role in determining the value of these dimes. Normally, coins from the Philadelphia Mint do not bear a mint mark, but in this case, the lack of a mint mark on the 1965 dimes makes them stand out. The market value for these coins has surged due to their rarity in circulated condition. Coins in better condition can fetch higher prices, with some reaching impressive values in today's auction market. As of recent auction results, the value of a 1965 Roosevelt dime in circulated condition without a mint mark can range anywhere from $20,000 depending on the specific wear and tear. However, in higher grades, this value can escalate significantly. A coin in uncirculated condition can bring in much more as collectors seek these rare finds. The design of the Roosevelt dime has remained relatively consistent over the years, and the 1965 version is no exception. On the obverse, President Franklin D. Roosevelt's profile is shown, facing left. The reverse features a torch, an olive branch, and an oak branch, all of which have symbolic significance. One notable feature of the 1965 Roosevelt dime is the large date variety. In 1965, the U.S. Mint used larger numbers for the date than it did in previous years, and these large digits are what distinguish this particular dime from others produced in earlier years. Although the design features on the obverse and reverse of the coin remained consistent with the original Roosevelt dime, these subtle changes in the date size became significant in the coin's value and collectability. The main error associated with the 1965 Roosevelt dime is the large date variety, where the size of the numbers in the date is noticeably larger than the standard size. This, along with the lack of a mint mark, has captured the interest of coin collectors. The error coin market has exploded over the years, and rare varieties such as this one have proven to be incredibly valuable. Collectors highly prize errors, as they are seen as unique pieces of history, rare anomalies in the production process that can increase the appeal and market value of a coin. Therefore, the 1965 Roosevelt dime with a large date and no mint mark has become a must-have item for many coin collectors, especially those focusing on error coins. Next up, the 2000 Roosevelt dime stands out for its large date design and the inclusion of a mint mark. While it may not be as historically significant as earlier Roosevelt dimes, its value in today's auction market is still noteworthy, particularly in the context of its unique features and collector interest. The 2000 Roosevelt dime represents the continuation of the long-running series that started in 1946. The design, featuring President Roosevelt on the obverse and symbolic olive branches on the reverse, remained largely unchanged over the decades. By the year 2000, however, the United States Mint was operating in a modern era with advanced technology, allowing for more precise coin production. The early 2000s marked a time when the U.S. Mint was producing coins in larger quantities, with significant focus on standardization and consistency. During this time, there was also a large amount of focus on creating coins that would serve both circulation purposes and collector demand. The 2000 Roosevelt Dime with the large date design was one of the varieties of that era and has captured the interest of collectors due to some unique features. The 2000 Roosevelt Dime was produced in significant numbers, so finding one in circulated or even dirty condition is not particularly rare. However, it's the condition of the coin that significantly influences its market value. Dimes that are heavily worn or dirty from exposure to the elements can sometimes carry a slight premium if they possess other unique features, like being a part of a low mintage year, having interesting die errors, or if they are part of a well-documented series. Despite being in dirty condition, the 2000 Roosevelt Dime can still have some notable value to collectors. A dirty coin often carries a lower value in most cases, but collectors often appreciate dimes like this because they still hold the basic elements that make them part of a larger collection, especially when they represent key years or mint marks. Coins from this era have become popular for their ability to connect modern-day collectors to the history and symbolism of the Roosevelt Dime series. While the 2000 Roosevelt Dime in dirty condition would likely have a value around $5,000 at best in typical auctions, certain factors, such as unique error varieties or provenance, can increase the demand and price. Coins with more noticeable wear and tarnishing still hold a place in many collections. The 2000 Roosevelt Dime features a portrait of President Roosevelt facing left, with the traditional torch, olive branch, and oak branch displayed on the reverse. The design elements, as with earlier versions, symbolize unity, peace, and strength, reflecting the values Roosevelt championed during his presidency. The large date feature of the 2000 Roosevelt Dime is a continuation of the trend that began in 1965. These coins have large, bold digits in the date section of the obverse, which has made them stand out in comparison to previous year's designs. The presence of the mint mark, D for the Denver Mint, further differentiates these coins from other dimes of the same period, as mint marks provide critical clues to the coin's origin and rarity. While there are no widely documented significant errors associated with the 2000 Roosevelt Dime, the large date itself makes it an intriguing option for collectors. Many modern dimes have been produced in very high numbers, but coins with distinguishing features, even subtle ones like the large date, always attract attention. Collectors interested in the 2000 Roosevelt Dime are often drawn to its place within the larger collection of Roosevelt dimes. They may also appreciate the way this coin bridges the historical legacy of Roosevelt with the new millennium. The 2000 coin year holds some unique significance, especially for those collecting coins from each decade or those focusing on mint-marked varieties. Next up, the 1968 Roosevelt Dime with a large date, which is notable for its scarcity and collectible value. The year 1968 was a pivotal time in American history. The nation was in the midst of social and political change, with the Vietnam War, the Civil Rights Movement, and the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., all marking the year as a turbulent one. On a more economic note, this period was characterized by inflation, rising costs of living, and significant changes in the U.S. coinage system. The 1968 Roosevelt Dime is part of the post-1964 series, which saw the transition from 90% silver content to a copper-nickel-clad composition due to rising silver prices. The Roosevelt Dime, designed by John R. Sinek, was the first U.S. coin to bear the image of a sitting president since the 19th century. The obverse features a portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt facing left. Sinek's portrayal captures Roosevelt's strength and determination, despite his physical frailty due to polio. The reverse showcases a torch flanked by an olive branch and an oak branch, representing liberty and peace, respectively. For the 1968 version of the Roosevelt Dime, there was an interesting modification in the size of the date. This was a transitional year where a large date version of the dime was produced, and it was typically the distinguishing feature of coins struck in that year. The mintage of the 1968 Roosevelt dime with a large date was substantial, with millions of coins produced in Philadelphia, making the coin relatively easy to find in circulation. However, despite the high mintage numbers, the coin is noteworthy because of its condition. Coins found in circulated condition have lower market value than those in uncirculated or mint state conditions. Yet the 1968 large date dime remains significant in the numismatic community due to its design and its connection to an important year in U.S. history. In circulated condition, the value of the 1968 Roosevelt dime large date is modest, generally hovering around face value or slightly above due to its wear and age. However, coins in higher grade conditions can fetch a much higher price. The most desirable versions of the 1968 large date dimes are those in near mint state, which can reach values of up to $39,000 or more, depending on their specific condition and the quality of their strike. Dimes in perfect or gem uncirculated condition can reach upwards of $50,000 and sometimes even more at auction depending on demand. The market interest in this coin is driven by a few key factors. Collectors are always seeking to complete their Roosevelt dime collections, especially focusing on the rare or unique years such as 1968. The large date variety adds another layer of intrigue, as it represents a shift in minting practices that numismatists find appealing. Though the 1968 Roosevelt dime large date is not considered an error coin, variations in the strike and minting processes can affect its desirability. Some collectors may seek out the 1968 dimes with specific flaws in the minting process, such as overstrikes, die cracks, or off-center strikes. These errors, while not common, can greatly enhance the value of the coin. Furthermore, coins with unique attributes, such as unusual toning or characteristics that make them stand out, often spark interest in auctions, where specialized collectors can be quite passionate about obtaining rare or unusual specimens. The Roosevelt dime is one of the most beloved series in U.S. coin collecting, and this 1968 large date variety has an especially keen collector following. The interest in the coin is bolstered by its connection to an important historical period, its relatively small error variation, and the public's ongoing admiration for Roosevelt's legacy. Coin enthusiasts value not only the design, but also the era the coin represents. The 1968 coin symbolizes a moment of change and development in U.S. coinage and history. The 1968 Roosevelt dime, large date without mint mark, in circulated condition, may not seem like much to the untrained eye, but it holds an important place in U.S. coinage history. It's a coin that represents both a time of historical importance and a unique numismatic transition. For collectors and enthusiasts, it's a coin that continues to hold significant value, both in terms of its monetary worth and its place in the larger story of U.S. currency. Whether you're looking for a simple addition to your collection or a piece with historical significance, the 1968 Roosevelt dime is definitely one to keep an eye on. Next up, the 1975 Roosevelt dime, in particular, holds a unique spot in the market today, with collectors paying particular attention to its design, rarity, and condition. This specific coin, produced without a mint mark and in fine condition, carries significance both in terms of its production history and its collectible value. 1975 was a year that carried both challenges and triumphs for the United States. The year marked the USS's ongoing post-Vietnam period, with the nation grappling with economic issues like inflation and unemployment. The US dollar was also facing some tension in global markets due to the continued effects of the Bretton Woods system's collapse earlier in the decade. On the numismatic front, the US Treasury made efforts to streamline coin production, with coins like the Roosevelt dime becoming more standard in appearance and usage. The 1975 dimes, like all coins produced in the mid-1970s, reflect these transitions and are somewhat representative of a more stable era in the nation's history. The design of the 1975 Roosevelt dime is consistent with the classic representation of Franklin D. Roosevelt, who is depicted on the obverse of the coin. The artist, John R. Sinek, successfully captured Roosevelt's dignified expression, which is both sharp and nuanced. The reverse design of the coin, featuring a torch, olive branch, and oak branch, symbolizes liberty, peace, and strength. This iconic design has remained unchanged since the coin's inception, making it one of the longest-running designs in U.S. coinage history. In 1975, the design of the dime remained nearly identical to that of 1968, and the overall look and feel of the Roosevelt dime became associated with a sense of reliability and consistency in American coinage. Coins from this year are typically very well struck and retain much of their detail, especially when found in fine condition. In 1975, the U.S. Mint produced millions of Roosevelt dimes, ensuring that they were widely circulated. However, the coin without a mint mark is often considered to be the one struck at the Philadelphia Mint, as no mint mark was used for coins from this facility at the time. The 1975 dimes are somewhat plentiful in circulation, but those in better condition, such as the fine-grade examples, are more sought after by collectors. This is partly due to the relatively high wear and tear that dimes typically experience due to their everyday use in coinage circulation. In fine condition, the 1975 Roosevelt dime without a mint mark can be found on the market for anywhere from $2,600 depending on demand and the coin's specific attributes. Coins that are well maintained and exhibit a bright appearance often garner higher prices than those that show significant wear. The key to the value of this coin lies in its quality, with many dimes fetching higher values as the condition improves. The collector interest in the 1975 Roosevelt dime is driven by its association with the larger Roosevelt dime series, which remains a favorite among collectors. While the 1975 coin is as rare or as valuable as some other dimes, its historical context, particularly as part of the 1970s coinage era, gives it a special place in many collections. Enthusiasts may seek out the 1975 dime as part of a complete set or because of the importance it holds in terms of its production during an interesting era in U.S. history. While the 1975 Roosevelt dime is not known for having any major errors or variations, collectors are always on the lookout for minor variations in the strike, die cracks, or other anomalies that may have occurred during production. Coins with such errors, if they can be identified, often attract premium prices. For example, a coin struck off-center or with a doubled die might be more valuable than a standard 1975 dime, depending on the severity of the error and its impact on the overall look of the coin. The 1975 Roosevelt dime without mint mark, in fine condition, holds a unique position in the world of numismatics. Though it may not be as rare as some other coins from the same era, its historical significance, classic design, and strong collector interest make it an important part of the Roosevelt dime series. Whether you are a seasoned collector or a newcomer to coin collecting, this dime represents an excellent example of U.S. coinage from the 1970s, and its steady value ensures it remains an interesting piece to seek out and cherish. Thanks for joining us. Happy collecting!